Hello, my name's Sophie and I'd like to welcome you to the Crossdressing Lifestyle channel. This video is all about our recent experiences out in Thailand. Myself and my partner Krista have just come back from a little over 2-week trip where we took in the sights and the sounds of Bangkok, Chiang Mai and also Krabi, and met some very interesting people and got some good insights to what life is like for the ladyboys out there. So if you'd like to find out a little bit more, join us in the experience, then please stay tuned. Hi and welcome back. As I alluded to in the introduction, it took us about 18 months to sort of plan this trip and save up for it, because it's not a cheap little trip halfway around the world. So we left a very cold and wet and rainy Gatwick behind. It took us around about 13 hours flying by Qatar Air via Doha to reach Bangkok, and it was a pretty steamy, hot sort of climate we were going into, and that was part of the reason why I suppose I did all this trip in drab. I left Sophie at home with all the makeup and the clothing behind, because I think we were going to do something like about 8 flights during this trip, and we wanted to keep it down as light as possible. So getting into Bangkok, when we got there, there's kind of a little bit of touristy information that might be helpful to some. There is an application called Grab, which is very much like our Uber, that you can use. You can download that quite easily. The only thing you do need to do is have a local Thai telephone number, which is something I didn't know until I actually downloaded it. But you can pick up, I suppose, SIM cards quite cheaply in Bangkok, so that's not really a major hurdle. The other thing is that it is advisable, obviously, to use cabs that are metered. Downstairs at the international airport, you go to a little room and you pick up a ticket, and you're called up onto the desk and allocated a taxi, and all they say is pay 50 baht, which is about £1.20 or something, above the meter rate to the person. And it actually works out very, very cheap indeed to get around sort of Bangkok. If you use this type, you either use the Grab or you use the metered, way of getting a cab. So that was quite interesting. Now we decided to stay in Bangkok initially for a couple of days, and then move north to Chiang Mai, back into Bangkok, out to Krabi, and then finish our trip back again in Bangkok before we flew home. But so getting into Bangkok, as is with most major cities, is pretty busy. There's a lot of cars, there's an awful lot of people, it's quite humid. Some say it's a little bit smelly, but I think that is a bit diversory. I think it's like most major cities. It has a great atmosphere about it. Our hotel was ideally located. We were near the SkyTrain, so we can get around anywhere, and public transport is cheap and easy to find. So our first encounter with the ladyboys really was immediately we got to our hotel, because one or two of the staff greeting us in were ladyboys, and that was quite a nice introduction. Very well educated, very good English speaking, and quite pleasant to talk to. They were quite had quite a good sense of humour. It is important, I suppose, to understand that although English is spoken quite freely in Thailand, the grasp is not very deep, so getting down to a sense of humour can be a little bit difficult at times, but it was quite interesting having that initial conversation. Now, things we wanted to do when we were in Thailand, well, particularly in Bangkok, was to visit the Tropicana, I think it's called, to see the Ladyboys show actually in Bangkok itself, because here in Brighton every May, almost for the whole duration of May, we have the Ladyboys of Bangkok visit us, and I wanted to really compare that show to the one in its home nation. So what we did was we decided to incorporate 2 things in one, i.e. go to the night market and visit the show all in one go, because it's all in the same area. It's also right next to the Thai boxing stadium in Bangkok, and if you've been to Bangkok or Thailand in general, Thai boxing is incredibly popular. So we took a putt-putt, collecting it from the inn, right outside the hotel, and wheeled our way through the population of literally thousands of cars weaving in and out. And we got there. It's quite a nice little journey itself. We got a good view of Bangkok from street level, and it wasn't overly expensive. So the show itself is relatively cheap to get into. It's quite a nice building. I must admit, some of the girls that were on the poster on the outside of the building are some of the girls I'm pretty sure I've seen touring here in the UK, which was quite interesting. Now, the show itself is quite, I would say, spectacular. It's quite professionally put together. It tries, I believe, to cater for all possible nationalities. There were elements of it that were particularly Western orientated, some Chinese orientated sort of aspects and sets also. There were obviously lots of Thai cultural sort of references as well. And as a whole, it was quite aesthetically pleasing. The girls were beautiful, as you'd expect, very nimble, and the sets were quite good. Not too brilliant at times with the lip syncing, but the humour was a little bit dry, I suppose, trying to cater for the whole nationalities that were in the audience. And the audience itself were, pretty family orientated. We did at the end manage to sort of have some of the fairly brief discussions with some of the girls that were there, get their views on what it's like to work in this show. It is damn hard work, as they say. There's a lot of, I suppose, training time that goes in to get the routines down to pat, although they would say that they are pretty well financially reimbursed for it in comparison to local wages and how they can earn their wages. It was also alluded to that quite a few of the girls, when they do finish, they do work in some of the go-go bars, and some of them even work as escorts to supplement their income to send back to their families, which wasn't unexpected, but it's a little bit sad in some respects that they have to work, quite so hard to get a reasonable living. The whole sort of show, I think, was very, very good. It's worth going to see if you're there, and it was quite nice to compare that with the UK version of the show, which in comparison is fairly bland. So that night market was absolutely lovely around there as well, picking up the goods, and it was quite a nice introduction to everyday life, really, in Bangkok. You will find a lot of stores there that are got a lot of very cheap goods in them, but they've got a lot of what they call second-hand originals, which is a bit of our way of saying grey goods or knockoffs, or I don't know what the technical term for it is these days. Very good quality. Which really, we wanted to do quite a bit of shopping in Bangkok, and that led us really to a couple of the major malls. I can never say that word, malls, or whatever they want to call it, in Bangkok. And the biggest one that we went to was MBK, and we found that by taking an overland or a sky train, which is a bit like our underground, but overland, obviously. Very quick, very efficient. And I do, love the way that the locals are so courteous, queuing either side of the door, letting everybody out, and then filing in one by one into the trains. It was quite a sight to behold, really. MBK itself, we found out from a couple of locals, it's good to visit there early or late, and the reason being is that a lot of the stores sort of tucked in the back have their reproduced goods or their grey goods, and they really only have them out when the sort of police or the authorities are not so in abundance in the big malls, and that's generally first thing when they open around about 10 o'clock or probably late at night. Now, to give you an idea, MBK is a huge mall. I think it's something like either 5 or 8 or 7 stories high. I lost count, because you could be in there all day long. we went there early in the morning as advised, and we started off at the lower levels, which was generally sort of jewellery, handbags and clothing, a little bit of food put in. And we came across one particular store, and the thing that caught my eye was quite a few Jimmy Choo handbags, and they looked gorgeous, absolutely stunning, really well made. Also have mulberries there, and I thought, they must be quite expensive, even though they are probably not originals, which obviously they weren't. I think by the time that we finished negotiating in a very friendly way with the storekeeper, we got one Jimmy Choo bag for myself, which had 2 smaller bags inside, which is one you put your coins and probably one you could put your makeup in, and a lovely mulberry makeup bag for Krista. Again, 3 little bags, one inside of the other, and I think I didn't pay more than about £40 for them all. And it's absolutely amazing, and the young lady was very pleased with the price as well, which probably means it could have been secured much cheaper, but I felt comfortable with that price. And I did actually go back about an hour later to just try and film that particular store, but surprise, surprise, most of the handbags that were out early had all disappeared. Now, I know they hadn't sold them all, so they must have sort of hid those below the counter, so to speak, or they were all turned around without the labels showing. So MBK is huge, and it's very diverse. We found one area in there that you could actually book your cosmetic surgery, and there were quite a few ladyboys working in there as well, very pretty as well. And you could see that they'd obviously sampled most of the cosmetic procedures with them. Very, very charming. Sort of beckoned us into the place to have a little bit of a look around, which we did. The prices are not that expensive, actually, and it was nice to see how clean and professional this particular store was. A bit similar to going to Harley Street, I would say, and meeting some of the staff that were there, and there was no obligations. We were just looking around. They were very, very helpful. That was quite interesting little visit. Again, walking around in the afternoon, we found a Thai massage place that was, the girls that were working there were so funny, and they were very charming. They wanted to get you in, and the thing that caught our eye really was that Krista wanted some semi-permanent makeover, these microbladed eyebrows, because she'd obviously plucked hers a little bit too much and lost the shape in them. And we inquired. It was very cheap, and we thought, well, we'll give it a go. And that's when we met Lydia, who is the specialist there for doing sort of cosmetic tattooing. She was a ladyboy, and she took around about 2.5 hours painstakingly detailing, drawing and doing the eyebrows, with a lot of precision and care in that. And during that time we got to speak about a lot of things, and some of the things I found quite fascinating. Most of us have the viewpoint that Thailand is incredibly happy and liberal. What I didn't realise was that everybody has to do national service, and if you turn up for your registration in national service or national service duty as a ladyboy, dressed or with makeup or whatever, you are not going to be accepted into the forces, which is okay. But what it does do is it goes down on your record as being unsuitable for duty, and probably the best way I can describe it is they kind of put you under a heading of an illness, a mental type of illness, which makes it very difficult for the ladyboys to get what I would call, or what we would call, a normal office or career-based job, because of that particular aspect, which I found fascinating. Because I did see a lot of ladyboys working, obviously the bars, and there's a lot of call girls and working girls, but we saw an awful lot in makeup counters and a receptionist type of jobs in hotels, but not really career orientated. It may have been something that I didn't really get to see much of. I know there's a big movement in Thailand, and some quite strong personalities that are trying to break these barriers down for ladyboys to integrate even more full into society in there. I even had, while we're talking to Lydia, a conversation about the Buddhist monks, who you would never think were, how would I say, biased in any way, but even they kind of believe in trying to convert the ladyboys back to more masculine roles, not in an aggressive way, but in a slow teaching way. So, I always thought Buddhists were accepting of everything, but, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe that was just a few people's experiences. So a little bit off sort of topic there, but it's quite interesting when you actually get to sit and talk down face to face with some of the ladyboys in there, and they absolutely screamed the place down when they saw my photographs of Sophie, because I used to go into a couple of the stores there and looking at dresses and saying they were for me, and they looked me a bit oddly up and down as a guy, but as soon as you show them the pictures, they were absolutely, they couldn't do enough for you. They wanted to find out, why you dressed. Were you an entertainer? Was I going to transition? So there was quite a lot of interest coming back from them towards my lifestyle as much as my interest in their lifestyle. So there is an awful lot of shopping you can do in Bangkok, and you can find a lot of bargains, but please bear in mind, clothes are still a little bit how would I say, on the small size and a bit of a stretch, but if you hunt around, you'll find what you're looking for. Now, we only spent 2 days, or 2.5 days really, in Bangkok, because we really wanted to get out to the provinces and see what the true life was like. So we took some flights up to Chiang Mai, the walled city up there, which was absolutely incredible. When you flew in there, the first thing you noticed was the change in humidity. It was much cooler, and I think if I went again, I'd definitely take my clothes and dress there, because there's an awful lot of ladyboys around there as well, in the bars and the clubs. But it's just a charming place to visit. The temples and the day markets are a pleasure to walk around. Everybody is working away. It's nice to see really skilled craftsmen making bowls and things of that nature. And it's a slower pace of life in Chiang Mai than it is in, as you would expect, in a major city, like Bangkok. But I think my lasting memory of Chiang Mai really is going to one of the elephant preservation reservations. There has been a lot of change in Thailand regarding sort of elephants over the last 10 years or so. If you would have visited sort of 10, 15 years ago, you would have found a situation where elephants were sort of used for tourist entertainment, carrying people around and things like that. These days, there are a lot of sanctuaries there for the well-being of the elephants, and to spend a day there feeding them, walking around, seeing them in their natural environment, actually staring into an elephant's eye, and it sounds odd, you can see what a peaceful creature they are. And if you're looking, you're standing next to a 4-ton elephant, to be told that it eats 10% of its weight every day, you think, 400 kilograms of bananas and other goodies is a lot of thing to chew through all day. But we had a great time there. We watched the elephants with them and cared for them for the day. And if you ever get a chance to do that, please, it's worth every single penny. And if you can, donate a little bit more at the end of the visit, because it all does go to a very good cause there. So Chiang Mai is great. There's a lot of bars. You see a lot of the girls there. A lot of working girls, I must admit. We didn't see so many in sort of in the shops. We did again see them in the beauty salons. Obviously, they work a lot there. It's nice to catch up with a few of them and just talk about family life and how it is a very family-orientated culture. They send most of their money back to their parents in their villages and things like that. And life is reasonably okay for some of them. It's hard for a lot, though. So Chiang Mai, we spent 3 or 4 days there, and that was quite a nice change from the atmosphere of Bangkok. After that, we flew back into Bangkok and then flew out again to down south to Krabi. Now, Krabi is a less visited area of Thailand. It has absolutely gorgeous, 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 gorgeous beaches. And we had a fantastic hotel right on the beach. The pinnacle of the whole thing really was going out on the boats, out to sea, and visiting the Phi Islands. The most famous one locally is called Maya Island, and it featured in the Leonardo DiCaprio film The Beach. Unfortunately, on our day, it was closed to tourists for regeneration, they call it. But you could see the beautiful white sands and the crystal clear water all the way around. It was fantastic. It's just a sight to behold. And even all the islands around there are just so clean. And the air is so fresh. And going, taking some of the trip into the cave areas. There are a lot of boats around. There's an awful lot of tourists, but you can imagine what it was like sort of 10, 15, 20 years ago with less tourists there. It's a real eye-opener, the natural beauty of it all. The sands, the sea, it's so clear. It was a pleasure going there, and it was really nice when we stopped over on one of the islands just to see the monkeys, the beach monkeys, the crafty little devils. If you had any drinks on you at all, any soda, any Coke, anything like that, they would literally walk straight up and rip it out of your hands. And, it was quite interesting just to see them there. Again, there was a lot of girls on the beach. You could see them, very pretty girls and very, very accommodating. You just sit down and have a conversation. They will spend as much time with you as you're willing to spend with them. If you're a genuine person, you're interested in their lifestyle. And again, once you explain to them, like I did, that I'm a cross-dresser and I wanted to find out a little bit more about life, what it was really like there, they are very, very giving and forgiving as well of your time. So Krabi is a beautiful place to go. I'd recommend anybody going there. And we finally ended up in Bangkok again, obviously flying back out, and we tied up a few loose ends. I did make contact with the local Bangkok dressing service just to see how and what sort of clients they have. They have a lot of local clients, people coming from other villages and towns and cities or areas in Bangkok. As well as a lot of international clients. They visited hotels like they visited us, and we didn't particularly want a dressing service appointment. I just wanted to talk to them and see what the perspective was of having a dressing service in Bangkok. And surprisingly or not surprisingly, it's more or less the same as it is in the UK, which I found quite surprising, because I thought there would have been less need for a dressing service for locals. And it would be purely for foreigners coming in. But their split of clients was about 60-40, 60% international clients and 40% local clients. That was quite interesting. So, not what I expected, but still interesting altogether. So in summary, really, the life of a ladyboy in Thailand is unsurprisingly quite difficult. It's not easy for them to get what I would call mainstream career-driven jobs, but that does not in any way stop a lot of them from having a good life. There is a lot of misconception about being used and abused by tourists. I don't think that's the case. A bit of a case of one side using the other side to a means to an end for some of the girls, I think. The sad side is that there's a lot of deaths within the ladyboy community through various disease-ridden sort of things. I don't wish to go into that. I would say we had a fantastic time there. I'm definitely going to go back again in the future. When, I don't know. We made some very good friends and we're keeping in touch with them. So I hope you enjoyed that perception of Thailand and a little bit of maybe something different about the ladyboys there. But if you are new to our channel, please feel free to subscribe, because with your help we're going to grow the channel bigger and be able to bring you more updates. And until the next time, thank you very much for watching and have a blessed day. Bye bye.